Hello there, and welcome to my video game sound design series on Massive. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make a cool sci-fi retro sort of laser gunshot effect. So, like usual, you can always download this patch in the description below, and of course, if you don't know what the heck I'm talking about through this video, I did a series of Massive tutorials that you can watch that will get you up to speed. Alright, so let's get started making a laser shot sort of effect. So in this effect, we're going to use 3 oscillators. It's a pretty complex sound, so that's why we're using 3. And on this very first one, this very first oscillator, I'm going to change this to a wavetable known as B pulse. Now, that actually doesn't show up in this kind of view we have right here of all the wavetables. If I go all the way to this bottom right one here, it says guitar pulse, and you can see up here it says G-pulse. And if I hit this right arrow next to that name just once, you'll see it switches to B pulse. Now this wavetable again doesn't show up here. For some reason it only shows up when you go to this guitar pulse and hit right on this right arrow, or you cycle through until you hit it. And I don't know why. It might be a bug. It might be something on my system. But I like the sound of this for a laser effect. So we're going to start with that one. On the second one, we're going to use this deep throat wavetable. And on the third one, we are going to stay with square saw 1. Okay, so on this first one, what we're going to do is leave the wavetable position and intensity the same. I'm going to turn the amp down for now, and we'll see how it kind of sounds later. I generally tend to turn amplitude knobs down a little bit when I'm working with gunshot or percussive effects, so I don't blow my ears out. On this next one, I'm going to turn this wavetable position back a little and take this intensity back. Again, in spectrum mode, this intensity just kind of gets rid of the high frequencies. It's similar to a low-pass filter. So I'm going to turn these two back, and we'll tweak them later. And on this third one, this square saw 1, I'm going to keep this intensity up. I'll turn this amp down just a hair, and I'm going to turn this amp down pretty significantly too on oscillator 2. And I'll turn this wavetable position back a bit. So we're just playing around with the sound, and I'm going to just play a few keys for you now so you know what we're starting with. Very simple, just kind of stock sounding synth. Okay. So next up, what I'd like to do is start playing with some envelopes. So in this patch, I'm going to use a couple envelopes. So I'm going to start with envelope 1. And I want this one to have a pretty fast attack. So I'm going to turn this attack down. I want the level to stay at maximum because I want kind of a gunshot quick sort of effect. I want the decay to be pretty short, and I want this level to go down. So basically what I'm doing is making a very fast envelope with a quick attack and a quick decay, no kind of sustain after the fact. So that's why I'm turning this level down. And we'll, again, play around with this more and more as time goes on. So that's kind of a good starting point for now, I'd say. And now I'm going to apply this envelope to many things, but I'll just start with these amplitude knobs right now. So what I'm going to do is apply envelope 1 to this amplitude knob right here, and now grade this downwards so that when we press a key, this volume of this oscillator will quickly drop to 0 based on the shape of this envelope. And I'm going to do the same for number 3, the amplitude knob on number 3. And I'm going to make it so it turns up really quickly. So we're going to have a quick decay and a quick increase in volume on oscillator 1 and oscillator 3 respectively. And on oscillator 2, we're going to do a similar thing, but I'm just going to use a different envelope. So I'm going to actually make this a much quicker attack. And I am actually going to make this decay a little bit longer. Let's just try there. Turn this level down so it doesn't sustain, so if I hold the key down. And that looks decent right now, so we're going to click on our little arrows here, apply that to oscillator 2's amplitude knob, and then turn that upwards like that. So what happens there is we have a amplitude that goes up pretty quickly. It has a slower attack, but it gradually increases and then will decay depending on how I press the key. So that's what we're going to play with for now, and we'll move on to a whole bunch of other stuff like pitch for the moment. So we're also going to make it so that an envelope 1, the one that we set earlier, is going to adjust the pitch of our effect. So I'm going to make it so that our range goes to 24, let's say, 2 octaves, and then we want this to be a sound effect. It doesn't necessarily need to be pitched. So I'm just going to kind of drag this so it's somewhere in between, so it's not dead on a pitch. And we're going to play around, let's see, somewhere around there, let's just say for now. And what I'm going to do is apply a similar thing to oscillator 3, except I'm going to pitch this downwards. So while oscillator 1 pitches up, oscillator 3 will pitch downwards based on the shape of this envelope. So again, let's do somewhere in between. I'll make sure it's kind of not any sort of even integer or anything like that. And then we will have 2 out of tune sort of sounds going on at the same time. So I'm going to just play that and you'll hear what we have right now. So 1 goes up, 1 goes down. So that's where we're starting with right now. Next up, we're going to add some noise. We already have a noise channel turned on, but the amplitude knob's all the way at 0. I'm going to add in brown noise, which is a lot more mellow than white noise. So I'm going to play around with these amplitude knobs. Let's see how it sounds out all the way maxed out. So it adds just a bit of hiss, just a bit of kind of hum to it. And I like that. We're going to add that to our retro laser sound. And I'm going to add envelope 1 to this color. So the color will change over time as well based on envelope 1. You can see we're using this envelope a lot, and that's very, very common. We tend to make 1 to 4 envelopes and reuse them over and over because we like the shapes that we make. And 4 envelopes may not seem like a lot, but really it's quite useful to have 4. It's quite a few, and we can play around with a lot of stuff just using these 4. So I'm going to play a key now. So we have this color going up a little, this amplitude knob up, and that sounds good so far. Now we're going to play around with a modulation oscillator. And I tend to do this kind of all the way on the left-hand side first. Whenever I'm working on a patch, I kind of start on this left-hand side and then move throughout effects and all that. But that's not necessarily the quote-unquote best order. You can do this in any sort of order you want, whatever you like. That's just the order I like to do things. So you can see I'm applying an envelope 1 to this pitch of this modulation oscillator. And this modulation oscillator, again, is good for aggressive sorts of sounds. And because we want a laser shot sort of effect, this is perfect. So we're going to take this and we're going to add phase modulation, which is perfect for laser sounds, to oscillator 2. And what I'm going to do is pitch our modulation oscillator down quite a bit. And let's say around there, and I'll make this in between again so it's not totally pitched perfect. And what we're going to do now is I'm going to turn this phase up, and we'll play around with it in a second. And actually, you know what? I'm going to make this envelope 2. So I'm going to make it so that the pitch changes based on envelope 2 down here. And we're going to make it so this range is pretty huge. So it's going to go up quite a bit here. Now if I play a key, you'll hear what happens. So we have just a little bit of phase going on. It's kind of hard to hear because it's so low pitched, but we have a little bit of phase going on oscillator 2. And we might play around with this more so it's more audible depending on how things sound later. So we also want some feedback in this that'll add some kind of gritty distortion almost to the sound. So if I turn this feedback knob on, I can just play around with how much feedback that I'm going to get. Now, one cool thing about Massive is that we can control where that feedback comes from. So I'm going to play around with this knob. You'll hear kind of what it does. I'm going to crank it up. I'll turn the master of this down so it doesn't blow anyone's ears out. So you can hear kind of analog sort of distortion going on, which is kind of warm and cool sounding. Now, what we can do is control where this feedback is coming from. So if I go to routing, this routing tab here, I'm not going to go into every single bit here, but you can see we have some spots that say FB for feedback. And there's one that's highlighted right here. And that's where we're getting our feedback from. So after all of this signal has been processed, we're then feeding back over here where it says feedback. What I'm going to do instead is click this one over here so that this feedback signal starts to happen a little bit earlier in this signal chain. And that's going to affect our sound a little bit. It's not a night and day difference, but it will change the sound just a little bit. So now if I turn this up, let's hear what that sounds like. So the distortion is a little bit different sounding. It's a little less muddy than it was before because it's happening earlier in the signal chain. So I'm going to make it so it's not super crunchy. So let's go with that for now, sure. And now what I'm going to do is play with filters, which is where a lot of our sound shaping tends to happen. So I'm going to use 2 filters in this case, and I'm going to turn this knob all the way up, this fader all the way up, so that it is a serial sort of filter setup. So serial means that it goes from one filter then to the other. So it goes through filter 1, and then that signal that's been filtered goes to filter 2. If we go to parallel, that means it's going to both filters at the same time. So we're getting kind of a mix of both. So what we're going to do is make it so we have a low pass filter here. Let's do low pass 2. It's a little less aggressive. And we'll make it so our cutoff is not super aggressive here. We'll boost our resonance. And on filter 2, we're going to use what's known as a comb filter, which basically, if you visualize it, makes it look like there's a whole bunch of notches taken out of the sound. So it's kind of like you're combing through your frequencies. So I'm going to play around with these. Let's say feedback. I don't want too much of that. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is turn this filter 2 up. So you can see these are kind of volume sliders for how much of each filter signal we want to hear. I'm going to turn filter 2 all the way up. And over here we have a mix fader. And what that is going to allow us to do is determine how much of each filter we're going to hear depending on serial or parallel. I'm just going to click mix 2, so slide this fader all the way down. So we're hearing purely the signal that goes from filter 1 to filter 2. So we're hearing the end product only. We're not hearing a little bit of filter 1. We're hearing only the end product of what it sounds like after it's been filtered through filter 1 and through filter 2. So now I'll play some stuff for you. And you can hear that nothing's happening because we are very aggressively cutting off this sound. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this master pretty high up. You can hear we have a very mellow sort of sound. If you can even hear that at all. It's very low, it's very mellow. It's okay if you can't hear it, because what's going to happen next is what's going to really shape our sound. So what I'm going to do after all that's set up is I'm going to check envelope 1, which is what we've been using a lot of so far, on this pitch comb filter. So the pitch of this filter, what it's affecting, is going to change over time based on envelope 1, which is basically the heart of our gunshot effect. And now I'll play something for you. If you can even hear that, you can hear that the pitch of this filter changes just a hair, but it's okay if you can't hear it now. It's super quiet. Don't worry about that for the moment, because now we're going to get into insert effects. And we're going to use 2 insert effects. First up, on insert 1, is the parabolic shaper. Now this thing is essentially a form of distortion. It sounds really freaking cool and I really like it. And we can choose dry wet, how much you're going to hear, and drive, so how much it's going to be kind of parabolically shaped or quote unquote distorted. So I'll turn this up a little bit, and on insert 2, I'm going to go to the frequency shifter, which is going to give us a lot of delicious laser effect. So now what I'm going to do is make it so that this pitch right here, this pitch knob, is affected by envelope 1. You're seeing a theme here. So we have this heart of this pitch shifted laser effect. And what it's going to do is, because envelope 1 is acting on so many places at once, they're all going to work in unison, which is going to sound really cool. So I'm going to make it so that the pitch of this frequency shifter goes up pretty fast. And now I'm going to play a few keys for you before we keep going so you can hear what's happened. So you can hear it's already sounding pretty lasery, and that's because of these two insert effects going on. I'll turn off frequency shift, and you'll hear what the parabolic shaper's doing. It's basically distorting that kind of impossible to hear signal. And frequency shifter is where a lot of the laserness is coming from. And just so you know, I'm playing in octave -3 on my keyboard. So when you get this patch, play around in that range. If you play really high up, it'll sound completely different, and I'll play that in just a second here. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is, of course, our master effects, which add a lot of character to our sound. First thing I'm going to add is the dimension expander, and that's a good effect. I really like it. It's kind of like a reverb that's their own kind of version of a reverb. I really like it. It adds a little space to it without being too reverberant. So it's almost like a delay, but not really. But we're going to actually add a delay as well. So on the second master effect, I'm going to add a delay synced. And that'll just be synced to the tempo of your DAW or whatever it is that you're set up with. You can choose your left and right feedback, all that sort of good stuff. So I'm going to basically set this up so that it's not super crazy. Let's take a listen at this one right now when I turn the dry wet down. It's a little too much. Let's turn this feedback down. Cool. That's good enough for now. Let's call that good for the current moment. And now what I'm going to do is play around with some of these filters that we set up earlier. So if I turn this cutoff of low pass filter 1 up, you're going to hear that it gets harsher and harsher. So you can determine what sort of sound you want by using this cutoff knob. You can get kind of a hummy tone in there as well if you play around with this cutoff knob. And again, I'm playing pretty low on the keyboard, but if I pitch this up, you're going to hear a very different sort of sound. It's not necessarily the laser effect that we're going for, so I recommend playing in the very, very low registers and playing around with that because we get that nice bassy thud to it, and that makes a better laser sound. I like playing a really, really low C. Gets that kind of chesty thud in there, and I like that. And I would use this as a layer on any sort of sci-fi sort of laser effect or an impact of a laser being hit. Anything like that, I would use this for in a heartbeat. So this may not stand alone, or it may, depending on what you're going for. But it can be very useful in any sort of sci-fi, especially retro sort of sound that you're going for. All right, that's it. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please sign up for my newsletter. That's where I give out all my best stuff. If you're interested in making a career in the game industry, sign up right now because I have a whole bunch of great career advice to give you completely for free, as well as an ebook that will help you get paid and charge clients and all that sort of good stuff. So if money scares you, you're not alone. I can help you out with that. And also subscribe to this channel. I make a new video every single week about sound design or working in the game industry, something like that every single week. And I'll, of course, always thumbs up the video, leave a comment, let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you in the next video.